Let's bring in Tom Verducci, senior baseball writer at Sports Illustrated. I guess we shouldn't be surprised at this, but it sounded like Matt Kemp was surprised because he said Andre Ethier was the one he thought was going to be traded here, Tom. Or is there a chance he's going to be traded as well?
It could be, but really it's Matt who is the odd man out. You know, they have this kid, Jock Peterson, they really like to play center field. And Puig in center field last year, that was a short-term fix, and it worked. But he's not really a center fielder. He belongs in right field. And you saw Matt Kemp. He was comfortable in right field last year, but he hated left field. And it looked like he didn't like it. So he was the odd man out. I'll give him credit because I thought the power came back in his game in the second half of last season. He had a bad ankle injury. But he showed again he's got his at least his power. Now, his defense and his base running, the explosiveness, I'm not sure if that's ever coming back, but he's a big bat.
Dodgers, some big moves here. They've rivaled the Cubs here. What's the game plan here for L.A.?
Game plan for L.A., obviously they have an entirely new front office there, and they're looking at things completely differently than the last front office, more old school, scouting-based. They looked at D. Gordon, the guy who had a great first couple of months of the season, and it just wore down as the season went on. He's not an on-base guy. Howie Kendrick gives them more depth in the lineup. They had to figure out shortstop because, even with Hanley Ramirez gone, when Hanley was there last year, he was one of the worst defenders at shortstop. Now they've got a much more stable middle infield. I think they're a better team. Basically, Kemp, not that there was anything wrong with him other than just the numbers game in the outfield, that had to change, and I think they knew that. They couldn't go to spring training with all those outfielders again. So I think they're a better team, Dan. The key is they've done it without trading any of their top three prospects.
All right, what's next aside from Max Scherzer? And Boris has a way of dragging these things out, but is that the last big decision or deal that's going to be made?
Yeah, James Shields has stepped down from that. It'll be interesting to see where the Giants go in terms of, they lost Sandoval, they didn't get Lester. They still have a big move to make, and that's a team that does think big. Scherzer's interesting because you mentioned Boris. He likes to slow play these things, take this thing into January. What he's really hoping for is that the Yankees finally break this financial discipline that they say they're holding themselves to and can't resist the idea that Scherzer is going to be sitting out there in January when you've had teams like the Red Sox and the Blue Jays make a ton of moves to upgrade.
Yeah, you're looking at these deals, though, and I understand what the Cubs are doing. That if they strike gold in 1 year and win a World Series, then all of it's going to be worthwhile. So when somebody says, well, you don't want to spend 6 years, $150 million on Lester, they're really saying out of those 6 years, we hope to get one great run or two great runs at the World Series. So I understand that, but are the Cubs really worth a 12-1 pick here, Tom?
I think that has something to do with their popularity in the betting community. But okay. I'll tell you this, Dan, the game has changed. We used to say, the worst place to be is the middle of the road. You either have to go all out for it or you have to cut all the way back. That's not true anymore. You can build a team now you think can win about 85, 86 games. And then you either get lucky with some young players who get better quicker than you thought, or you reassess in July and you add some pieces. And the team that won the World Series last year, they won 88 games. The Cubs won 73 games last year. Can they win another 14 or 15? Yeah, it's possible. What they have right now, and they're not even done yet. I'm not saying that they will, but with all those young players, we don't know how quickly they're going to develop. But if most of them develop more quicker, yeah, they could win 87, 88 games, and that gets you into the tournament. So it's changed a little bit where teams are not that far off. You say winning a World Series, all you need to do is get to that 87, 88 win range, and then you got a shot.
Would you rather have a number one starter or a great manager?
Ooh, that's a great question because I think that Joe Madden, when we look back on this winter, and there's a ton of moves already, and we're going to see a lot more, Joe Madden may be the single biggest acquisition of the offseason. And don't forget how it came about. The Dodgers got bounced by the Cardinals, and all of a sudden he's a free agent.
If the Dodgers don't get bounced, does it change anything?
Well, yeah. I think if they get to the National League Championship Series, maybe they get to the World Series, maybe they don't redo the front office, And the only reason Madden is a free agent is because the team called him up and said, hey, Joe, Andrew Friedman just left, and you had this clause in your contract that says you can opt out now. And Joe said, I do. He had forgotten about it, which is hard to believe. Well, it was a club who said, Joe, you've got the opportunity now to leave. You put him on a free agent market, and I'm telling you, if Theo Epstein could draw up a blueprint for a manager, it would look exactly like Joe Madden.
But, Tom, do you realize, just imagine if the Cubs do win the World Series with Joe Madden and how it came about. It's the last great story to be told in professional sports. But, it just we'll look back if it happens and say it couldn't have happened without this first move or these first moves here, which is pretty incredible.
It is. And don't forget that the Rays had a chance to keep Joe Madden, and Joe went to them and he gave them a 4-year contract offer, and they said, no, we're not going to pay our manager that much money. And he said, all right, I'll see what someone else is willing to pay me. And right time, right spot for the Chicago Cubs to get Joe Madden there.
Tom, thanks for joining us as always.
You got it, Dan. Thank you.
All right, Tom Verducci, Sports Illustrated.